15 black actresses who were actually prostitutes. Behind the glittering awards and historic milestones of Hollywood's golden age lies a chilling systemic secret that the history books won't tell you. Here at Black Excellence Legends, we go beyond the credits to reveal the unimaginable ransom demanded by predatory gatekeepers. Iconic trailblazers like Dorothy Dandridge and Nichelle Nichols didn't just fight for scripts. They were often forced to barter their very dignity for a seat at the table. This wasn't just show business. It was a brutal survival trade where talent was the bait and exploitation was the cost. Ready to uncover the raw truth? Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to honor the real unvarnished stories of the pioneers who paid the ultimate price for the roles we celebrate today. Lena Horne. Lena Horne was a celestial talent whose presence at MGM in the 1940s marked a revolutionary yet agonizing chapter in cinematic history. As the first black performer to sign a long-term prestigious contract with a major studio, she was marketed as an ivory-toned goddess. However, this elevation came with a harrowing caveat. Her worth was inextricably tied to her compliance with the whims of powerful executives. The transcript reveals a dark transaction beneath the glamour. Her entry into the industry was allegedly bartered through an intimate connection with MGM mogul Louis B. Mayer. This ransom of her dignity was the entry fee for her role in Cabin in the Sky 1943, setting a precedent where her body was treated as a commodity for professional advancement. Despite her immense vocal range and magnetic screen presence, Horne was caged by the era's vicious racial codes. To appease the segregated South, her scenes were meticulously filmed so they could be butchered or deleted entirely without affecting the movie's plot. She was a star who was never allowed to truly shine. She was forbidden from touching white co-stars, effectively rendering her a beautiful static prop in her own films. This systemic dehumanization reached a breaking point in 1950, when Horne refused to continue her coerced liaison with Mayer. The machinery of Hollywood retaliated with clinical coldness. Her lucrative contract was vaporized, and her film career was effectively strangled at its peak. She spent the remainder of her life as a shunned star, pivoting to the cabaret circuit, where she reclaimed her voice, but never her lost cinematic potential. Horne passed away in 2010, leaving behind a legacy haunted by unquenchable regrets and the scars of an industry that demanded her honor in exchange for a spotlight. Her story is the ultimate reminder that for black women in the golden age, fame was often a predatory trap. Pearl Bailey. Pearl Bailey was a powerhouse of mid-century entertainment, a woman whose gravelly voice and sharp comedic timing made her a Broadway titan and a household name. However, the path to her 1954 cinematic debut in Carmen Jones was allegedly paved with a predatory entry fee that remains a dark stain on the industry's history. According to accounts of the era, despite her established fame in nightclubs, Hollywood's gatekeepers, specifically 20th Century Fox mogul Darryl Zanuck, viewed her talent as secondary to her physical submission. The transcript details a disturbing pivot. After a private office encounter, Bailey was allegedly coerced into an unforgettable night at Zanuck's residence. This wasn't a romantic pursuit. It was a cold, calculated barter for a supporting role, illustrating the grim reality that even a star of her caliber had to trade intimacy for the mere chance to appear on the silver screen. The payoff for this sacrifice was far from the stardom she deserved. While she secured the role, it came shackled to a 7-year exclusive contract at rock-bottom pay. This was a common tactic used to exploit black performers, locking them into indentured-style servitude, where they were paid a fraction of their market value. Furthermore, the roles offered to her post-deal were intentionally limited. Hollywood's systemic bias relegated Bailey to mammy archetypes, or comic relief, stripping her of the meaty leads she had literally wagered her body to obtain. The industry took her dignity and gave her caricatures in return. By 1960, Bailey demonstrated her ultimate resilience by turning her back on the movie machine entirely. She realized that the thorny trail of Hollywood was designed to drain her without ever granting her true equity. She returned to the stage, where she found the true fire and glow that film executives tried to extinguish. Until her passing in 1990, she remained an icon of sacrifice and grit, a woman who chose to ditch the celluloid cage for the freedom of the theater, carrying the heavy knowledge of what Hollywood truly cost a black woman in search of a dream. Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols was a transformational figure who redefined the parameters of television through her portrayal of Lieutenant Nyota Uhura on Star Trek. While history celebrates her as a barrier breaker who integrated the stars, the transcript unveils a more unsettling narrative regarding the ransom demanded for her ascent. In 1965, amidst the burgeoning civil rights movement, Nichols' path to the bridge of the Enterprise reportedly required navigating a precarious private proposition from producer Gene Roddenberry. This intimate encounter at the Desilu offices served as the quiet, unspoken prerequisite for her role, illustrating a recurring theme where black women's professional agency was tethered to personal compromise. Despite the cultural significance of her presence, Nichols' reality on set was a wage war defined by institutionalized inequity. She occupied a prominent position in the cast, yet her financial compensation was a stark insult. She was locked into a contract that paid her 50% less than her white counterparts. This pay squeeze was compounded by a toxic environment where she faced relentless role jabs and pressure from executives who sought to minimize her importance. The psychological toll was so severe that by 1967, Nichols was on the verge of resigning, feeling the weight of a system that commodified her image while devaluing her labor. Her decision to remain was famously influenced by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who framed her role as a vital social necessity. However, even after the show's cancellation in 1969, Hollywood's structural racism persisted. The big roles she deserved skipped over her, and she spent years grinding through speaker circuits to sustain her livelihood. Nichols' legacy is one of immense sacrifice, a woman who endured sexual bartering, financial discrimination, and professional stagnation to ensure that future generations of black actors had a place in the future. She passed away in 2022, an icon of grit whose name is etched in the stars, but whose earthbound journey was marked by the brutal costs of trailblazing. Rosalind Cash. Rosalind Cash was a magnetic force of nature, a woman whose radiant vitality and fierce intellectual depth promised to revolutionize the cinematic landscape of the 1970s. However, her meteoric rise following her lead in the sci-fi epic The Omega Man, 1971, was allegedly anchored to a harrowing threshold of no return. According to the transcript, despite honing her craft on the prestigious New York stages, Cash's entry into the MGM machine required a devastating personal compromise. A late-night hotel rendezvous with director Boris Sagal became the unspoken currency for her breakout role. This intimate barter, while securing her a place in film history, serves as a stark reminder of a hideous underbelly, where black women were forced to navigate a predatory landscape just to see their names in lights. The payoff for this sacrifice was short-lived and riddled with institutionalized cruelty. Despite receiving immense critical praise for her performance, Hollywood's structural racism manifested in a bizarre and strangling contract clause. The studio reportedly slapped a restriction on her career that forbade any future romantic scenes with white actors. This noose effectively neutralized her marketability as a leading lady in major motion pictures. By segregating her talent, the industry ensured that the big breaks evaporated, leaving her trapped in a cycle of minor TV bits and shallow projects that could never showcase her true range. Cash's career, which should have ascended to the heights of superstardom, was frozen in time by a system that feared her allure and punished her autonomy. Rosalind Cash lived it out her remaining years as a faint name in film annals, never reclaiming the glow that the 1971 premiere had promised. Until her passing from cancer in 1995, she remained a symbol of vast potential, ruthlessly buried by the Hollywood machine. Her story is a sorrowful close for an actress who possessed the steel and grace to lead an empire, yet was ground down by rules she couldn't rewrite. She remains a haunting testament to the unimaginable toll paid by black actresses who dared to claim their spot in a biased, power-drunk industry. Pam Grier. Pam Grier emerged in the 1970s as a cinematic phenomenon, a woman who didn't just play a hero, but defined a new archetype of female power. Known as the First Lady of Action, her portrayals of Coffee and Foxy Brown broke the mold of the damsel in distress, offering audiences a black woman who was as lethal as she was beautiful. However, behind this unbreakable persona lay a traumatic origin story rooted in the predatory nature of the Hollywood machine. In 1972, while working as a medical aide, Grier's life took a sharp turn when director Jack Hill recruited her. The transcript reveals that claiming the lead in Coffee demanded more than just a screen test. It thrust her into a ransom situation where her professional entry was allegedly bartered through her body. Stepping into Hill's office, she realized the hidden bargains at play, that to unlock the gates of stardom, she had to navigate a system that demanded a physical sacrifice before it would grant her a contract. The payoff for this harrowing trade made Grier an international icon, yet her journey remained a constant battle for agency. Despite being the face of the blaxploitation era, Grier faced severe retaliation the moment she attempted to draw a line. In 1975, her refusal to perform unscripted nude scenes in Friday Foster led to her being booted from the production of Gut Punch to her soaring career that illustrated how quickly the industry could turn on a woman who reclaimed her autonomy. This professional setback was compounded by a personal tragedy when she was diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer a year later. The industry, which had exploited her image and physical form, offered no sanctuary during her 2-year recovery. When Grier returned to the screen, she found her star had dimmed in the eyes of the majors. Hollywood's blacklisting of women who defied sexual mandates meant the big leads vanished, replaced by bit parts that failed to honor her legacy. It wasn't until decades later, through Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown, that her immense talent was rediscovered by a new generation. Grier's saga is one of wrenching choices, a woman who wagered her honor for a career goal only to find that the machine was designed to discard her the moment she said no. She remains a titan of resilience, a survivor who outlasted a system that sought to consume her. Juanita Moore. Juanita Moore was a paragon of emotional depth and dignity, an actress whose performance in the 1959 classic Imitation of Life remains one of the most heart-wrenching portrayals in cinematic history. As Annie Johnson, she navigated the complexities of racial strife and maternal rejection with a soul-stirring grace that earned her an Academy Award nomination. However, the path to this historic milestone was allegedly paved with a heavy levy that few in the public ever glimpsed. According to the transcript, while Moore was stuck in the purgatory of bit roles, securing her audition for this universal project required entering a dark pact. To claim the part that would define her career, she reportedly had to yield to the private demands of director Douglas Sirk and producer Ross Hunter, with a pivotal encounter at Sirk's home serving as the unofficial ransom for her lead role. The payoff for this sacrifice was a moment of global acclaim, but it was followed by a swift and brutal decline. Despite her Oscar-nominated brilliance, Hollywood's structural inequality meant that her shine dulled almost immediately after the ceremony. Instead of being propelled into the leading lady status she deserved, Moore was met with a clinical coldness from the studio system. Her contract renewal was unceremoniously ditched, and for the following decade, she was shoved back into marginalized maid roles positions that offered her only 40% of the pay her talent merited. This systemic devaluation illustrated the hideous underbelly of a machine that would celebrate a black woman's pain on screen while simultaneously exploiting and discarding her in reality. Juanita Moore's later years were marked by a tragic irony. She remained a familiar face in the annals of film history, yet she lived in the shadows of financial instability. The industry that birthed her fame failed to provide a lifeline, leaving her to scrape by in poverty until her passing in 2014. Her story is a tear-soaked toll of a woman who wagered her most intimate self for a shot at greatness, only to be abandoned by the very empire she helped enrich. She remains a haunting reminder that in the golden age, an Oscar nomination was often not a shield against poverty, but a beautiful mask for a life of nameless trades and unrewarded labor. Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson was a titan of integrity, a woman whose career became a masterclass in how to navigate a predatory industry without losing one's soul. However, the transcript reveals that even a figure as formidable as Tyson was not immune to the ransom demanded by the Hollywood machine during her early ascent. In 1967, while she was still a promising talent, securing a role in The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, 1968 reportedly required a dark pivot. Producer Mark Merson allegedly called for a private rendezvous at the Beverly Hilton, a meeting that served as the silent prerequisite for her breakout lead. This single encounter, described as a twisting of her life's course, illustrates that in the 1960s, even the most dignified black actresses were often forced to pay a physical entry fee to access the gates of major studios. The payoff for this sacrifice was a critically acclaimed performance, but Tyson's refusal to remain a submissive pawn led to immediate and brutal retaliation. When the studio pressured her to overhaul herself, demanding she shave her head and starve herself to fit a specific exploitative aesthetic, Tyson famously balked. Her defiance was met with a clinical financial strike, a 30% pay slash from her contract. This was a clear message from the industry: compliance was the only currency they valued. For the next 5 years, Tyson's leads dried up, and she was forced to scrape by on shallow bit parts that failed to showcase her immense chops. During this period of professional exile, Tyson's life took a harrowing turn. Despite her status as a rising star, she was forced to rely on welfare to survive, drifting from the spotlight as the industry blacklisted her for her rebellion. Yet Tyson's legacy is defined by her ultimate victory over this biased arena. She eventually returned to become one of the most decorated actresses in history, refusing to take roles that demean black women. She passed away in 2021 at the age of 96, a survivor who paid a brutal toll for her foothold, but ultimately broke the rules she couldn't bend. Her story remains a testament to the steel required to transform from a shunted talent into a permanent icon of American film and television. Diahann Carroll. Diahann Carroll was a vision of sophistication and grace, a star who shattered television's glass ceiling by becoming the first black woman to lead a non-servant role in the series Julia 1968. However, the transcript reveals that the bridge to this historic achievement was guarded by a predatory gatekeeper. In 1967, while Carroll was hunting for a breakthrough in a medium tightly barred to black performers, her path led to NBC's Burbank offices. Securing the role of Julia Baker reportedly required navigating a private deal with producer Hal Cantor. Just 2 loaded intimate meetings later, the contract was inked. This narrative suggests that for Carroll, the price of making history was a silent surrender of her agency to the men who controlled the airwaves. The payoff for this sacrifice was a double-edged sword of fame and immense psychological strain. While Julia was a smash hit, Carroll was trapped within a whitewashed persona designed to appease white audiences, a role that glossed over the gritty realities of black motherhood. This sanitization of her image acted as a rigid cage, and despite her stardom, Hollywood's major film studios slammed their doors on her, refusing to offer the deep-quality cinema roles she truly craved. The industry celebrated her as a perfect symbol, but denied her the humanity of a complex artist. The resulting weight was crushing. Carroll sank into a severe depression as she realized the unimagined toll behind the shine. By 1973, her personal life began to buckle under the strain. Her marriage shattered, and she was forced to sell her home to settle mounting debts. A star who had broken one of the most significant barriers in entertainment history found herself ground down by rules she couldn't rewrite. Carroll's legacy is a poignant reminder of the thorny path of a pioneer, a woman who wagered her intimacy for a platform only to be marginalized by the very empire that utilized her image to claim progress. She passed away in 2019, leaving a legacy of elegance that masked a lifetime of systemic rejection. Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt was a polymath of the arts, a singer, dancer, and actress, whose seductive purr and razor-sharp intellect made her a global phenomenon. However, her ascent into the cinematic stratosphere was reportedly shadowed by the same predatory casting couch culture that haunted her peers. According to the transcript, in 1950, while Kitt was a mesmerizing club performer, in Paris she caught the eye of the legendary Orson Welles. To secure the coveted lead role of Helen of Troy in Dr. Faustus, Kitt allegedly had to navigate a series of intimate encounters with Welles at the Ritz Hotel. This trading of flesh was the silent currency for her entry into theatrical greatness, illustrating a grim reality where even a woman of Kitt's undeniable brilliance had to barter her dignity to unlock Hollywood's guarded gates. The payoff for this sacrifice was immediate success, yet it came with a lifelong stigma. Hollywood insiders aware of her ties to Welles reportedly branded her with horror, using her survival choices as a justification to deny her long-term stable contracts. Despite being an international sensation in the definitive Catwoman Tinseltown, viewed her through a lens of prejudice, treating her as a shunned star, trapped in the shadows of her past. This systemic exclusion was further amplified by her political courage. In 1968, after she spoke out against the Vietnam War at a White House luncheon, the CIA targeted her, leading to a decade-long blacklisting that effectively bolted Hollywood's doors shut. Kitt's resilience, however, was legendary. Refusing to be broken by a system that demanded her body and then rejected her voice, she exiled herself to Europe, where she reigned as a celebrated icon for 10 years. She eventually returned to American screens, but she never forgot the tear-stained saga of her early career. Until her passing in 2008, Eartha Kitt remained a testament to the unimaginable upheavals faced by Black women in show business. She was a woman who was seductive and brilliant, yet spent her life fighting an empire that sought to commodify her allure while punishing her for her strength. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge was a luminous trailblazer whose ethereal beauty and immense dramatic range made her a mid-century screen icon. In 1954, she achieved the impossible by becoming the first Black woman nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance in Carmen Jones. However, the transcript unveils that the bridge to this historic summit was built on a foundation of agonizing barter. While Dandridge sought a breakout to escape the purgatory of forgettable bit parts, securing her audition for director Otto Preminger reportedly required a heavy personal surrender. Their 4-week liaison involving multiple private encounters at his home and hotels served as the unofficial ransom for the lead role. This narrative suggests that for Dandridge, the first Oscar nomination in history was not a gift of merit alone, but a transaction of intimacy. The payoff for this sacrifice was a fleeting moment of global superstardom, followed by a systemic, irredeemable fall. The industry celebrated her talent for a season, but refused to grant her the agency of a true leading lady. When her personal entanglement with Preminger fizzled, so did her professional lifeline. Hollywood's major studios, in a display of clinical cruelty, Vox-axed her remaining deals, effectively purging her from the film machine. Despite her historic status, she was denied the long-term security afforded to her white counterparts, leaving her trapped in a cycle of depression and financial ruin. By 1963, the empire that birthed her fame had stripped her of everything, including the custody of her daughter, due to bankruptcy. Dandridge's story is a tear-stained saga of a woman who broke the ultimate barrier only to be discarded by the system she helped integrate. Unable to outrun the shadows of her past and the limitations of a biased industry, she succumbed to an overdose in 1965 at the age of 42. Her legacy remains a haunting reminder of the unimaginable toll paid by Black actresses during the Golden Age. She was a woman of immense grace who wagered her honor for a place in history, only to find that in Hollywood, a seat at the table often came with a bill she could never fully pay. Hilda Simms. Hilda Simms was a luminary of the stage, a woman who dazzled Broadway with her powerhouse performance in Anna Lucasta before attempting to conquer the fiercer beast of Hollywood. However, the transcript reveals that for a gifted actress like Simms, the transition from theater to film was not a meritocracy but a dark plunge. In 1952, while she was a celebrated name in New York securing a screen test for the Joe Louis story, 1953 reportedly required navigating a predatory landscape. A meeting with producer Sterling Silliphant at the United Artists office allegedly unveiled a hidden darkness, an unspoken bond that stretched far beyond professional boundaries. To secure her lead role, Simms was forced to rendezvous at Silliphant's Los Angeles apartment, multiple times a ransom of her dignity for a vital career launchpad. The payoff for this harrowing sacrifice proved to be a hollow victory. While she claimed the role, the film ultimately bombed at the box office, and in a display of systemic cruelty, Hollywood shifted the blame for the failure onto Simms herself. Her contract was vaporized with clinical indifference, and she was effectively blacklisted from major studios. The industry's exploitation of her was so profound that she even attempted to trade another one-night stand with a different producer in 1957 just to secure a minor bit part. It was a desperate act of survival in an empire that had already discarded her once she had been used. Despite her undeniable talent, the doors to cinematic revival remained sealed. Simms was forced to retreat to the theater and teaching to sustain herself. However, the psychological and financial toll of her shadowed past was irreversible. She spent her remaining years lingering in poverty and sickness, carrying the weight of a career that was strangled at its inception by a power-drunk machine. When she passed away in 1994, she left behind a legacy that serves as a stark reminder of the steep toll paid for a Hollywood foothold. Hilda Simms was a star who possessed the brilliance to reign, but was instead ground down by a system that treated her ambition as an opportunity for exploitation. Gloria Hendry. Gloria Hendry was a standout talent whose journey from the high-energy stages of Las Vegas to the Hollywood spotlight seemed like the ultimate success story. Known for her athletic grace and striking screen presence, she became a pioneer in the 1970s, notably as the first Black woman to be cast as a major romantic interest for James Bond in Live and Let Die, 1973. However, the transcript reveals that the foundation of her career was built upon a brutal conquest. In 1972, a call to audition for Black Caesar took a dark turn when director Larry Cohen bypassed professional offices for a meeting at the Sands Hotel. This encounter, which stretched until dawn, served as the silent ransom for her lead role, a pivotal moment that would haunt her professional trajectory forever. The payoff for this trade initially looked like superstardom. Hendry became an emblem of the blaxploitation era, but her summit was short-lived and sabotaged by systemic racism. Despite her groundbreaking role opposite Roger Moore, her iconic kiss scene was axed from Southern U.S. prints to appease racist sensibilities. This gut-wrenching blow was merely the prelude to a deeper professional degradation. Instead of being offered more sophisticated leads, Hollywood attempted to shove Hendry into the sludge of B-grade adult films. The industry that had utilized her allure for high-profile blockbusters now sought to reduce her from a star to a prop in exploitative cinema. Hendry's ultimate legacy is defined by her bold stand against this dehumanization. When studios pressed her into pornographic projects, she balked, refusing to compromise her dignity any further. The retaliation was swift. She was blackballed from every major studio, effectively ending her acting career in 1976. Unlike many who faded into tragedy, Hendry reclaimed her autonomy by walking away from the ruthless machine. She pivoted to a quiet life of postal work, embracing a retirement where her stage dreams were dust, but her honor remained intact. She remains a powerful reminder of the unimaginable toll paid by Black actresses who refused to be broken by a system that demanded everything and gave back only sludge. Diana Sands. Diana Sands was a seismic force in American theater, a woman whose intellectual ferocity and raw emotional transparency redefined Black womanhood on the stage. Her legendary turn as Beneatha Younger in A Raisin in the Sun, 1961, solidified her status as a dramatic heavyweight. However, the transcript reveals that her transition from the prestigious New York stage to the Hollywood screen was marred by a shadowed trade. To secure the film adaptation of her Broadway triumph, Sands reportedly had to navigate a silent pact with Hollywood heavyweight producer David Susskind. In the clinical setting of Columbia Pictures offices, lines blurred beyond business. Sands was summoned multiple times to Suskind's Manhattan apartment, a series of intimate encounters that served as the unofficial ransom for her lead role. This suggests that even for a powerhouse of her caliber, professional merit alone was not enough to bypass the predatory gatekeepers of the film industry. The payoff for this sacrifice was a moment of critical glory, yet the industry's response was a masterclass in systemic sabotage. Despite her undeniable genius, Hollywood quickly cooled on Sands, trapping her within a too sexy tag. This label acted as a professional barricade where her physical allure was weaponized against her artistic range. Studios refused to hand her the complex leads she merited, preferring to view her through a narrow fetishized lens. The empire that birthed her fame proved to be a hollow sanctuary. When Sands was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1967, the studio system offered no lifeline. Her contracts were discarded with clinical indifference, leaving her to face a harrowing medical battle in professional solitude. Sands' journey is a tear-drenched story of a brilliant gift forgotten by a ruthless machine. She passed away in 1973 at the age of 39, carrying the weight of a career that was cut short not just by illness, but by a system that devalued her humanity while commodifying her form. She remains a haunting reminder of the unimaginable toll paid by Black actresses who possessed the talent to lead an era yet were shunted into the shadows. Her legacy is one of a forgotten gift, a star whose brilliance was eclipsed by the very industry that demanded her dignity as the price of admission. Vonetta McGee. Vonetta McGee was an actress of luminous depth and undeniable magnetic power, a woman who became one of the most recognizable faces of the 1970s. While history crowns her as the blaxploitation queen for her breakout roles in Blocula, 1972, and The Iger Sanction, the transcript unveils a harrowing ransom behind her ascent. In 1971, while scraping by on small Los Angeles stages, securing the role of Luva in the seminal horror film Blocula reportedly required navigating a predatory casting couch encounter. Director William Crane summoned her to his Hollywood Hills home under the guise of hashing out the script, but the meeting veered far from professional work. According to accounts, an intimate connection grew repeatedly in the scant week before her official nod. This intimate barter served as the silent gateway to her stardom, illustrating the grim reality that even for a talent as refined as McGee's professional entry was often tethered to a physical trade. The payoff for this sacrifice was immediate renown, yet it came with a systemic stamping of her identity. Hollywood quickly branded her with harsh stereotypes, utilizing her allure while refusing to flex her full acting range. Producers only offered her sultry parts, boxing her into a fetishized category that denied her the chance for complex dramatic expression. The industry's exploitation deepened when studios began demanding unscripted, nude scenes in subsequent projects. This was a classic tactical move to commodify the black female body further once the initial transaction had been made. McGee's legacy is ultimately defined by her refusal to endure further injustice. In 1975, she made the radical choice to bolt Hollywood for Europe, scraping by on bit parts in obscure films rather than submitting to the sludge of domestic exploitation. This act of defiance effectively froze her career in the eyes of the major studios. She returned to California later, but found the industry's doors remained bolted shut. She lived in isolation in Oakland until her passing in 2010, a survivor of a tear-drenched story who chose to walk away from the throne of a queen when she realized the crown was made of thorns. She remains a haunting reminder of the unimaginable toll paid by women who sought glory only to find a machine that sought to own them. Tamara Dobson. Tamara Dobson was a statuesque force of nature, a 6'2" fashion model turned action icon who redefined the image of the black female hero in the early 1970s. As the star of Cleopatra Jones' 1973, she became a global emblem of raw talent, beauty, and independence. However, the transcript unveils a dark road behind this iconic triumph, a narrative where her entry into the Hollywood glare was reportedly bartered through a predatory ransom. In 1972, during her second callback for the role, producer Max Julian and an assistant casting director allegedly demanded a private rendezvous at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. In that lavish suite, boundaries blurred into a haze as a glittering career dangled just within reach. According to accounts, this liaison was not a single night, but a series of secret encounters over 2 weeks, dragging Dobson into a haunting whirlpool she felt she couldn't escape to claim the role she craved. The payoff for this trade was massive success. Cleopatra Jones raked in $6 million and showered her with fame. Yet right on the heels of this glory, the industry's exploitative machinery shifted gears. The studio began pushing for unscripted, nude scenes, demands Dobson flatly refused. This act of sovereignty triggered a dire fallout. In an act of clinical retaliation, her role in the 1975 sequel was slashed, and by the following year, the entire Hollywood machine turned its back on her. Blacklisted and shunned, the woman who had been a revolutionary symbol of power found herself ground down by a system that punished her for setting a boundary. Dobson's ultimate legacy is one of painful isolation. After being forced out of the industry, she ditched show business for real estate hustling, living a life of solitude far from the spotlights that once blazed for her. She carried the deep scars of a shadowed past until cancer claimed her in 2006. Her story is a stark reminder that in the brutal arena of Hollywood, a black woman's refusal to be a submissive prop often led to professional extinction. She remains an icon of steel, A warrior who paid an unimaginable price for a foothold only to be buried by the very empire that utilized her image to forge a legend. The legacy of these 15 icons preserved here at Black Excellence Legends reveals a haunting paradox. The very films that integrated cinema were often funded by the personal dignity of the women starring in them. From Dorothy Dandridge's historic Oscar nod to Pam Grier's defiant stand, we see a pattern of survival economics, where talent was treated as secondary to physical submission. As we honor their brilliance, we must confront the uncomfortable truth of the Hollywood machine. Was the cultural progress these pioneers achieved worth the devastating personal price they were forced to pay, or did the industry's exploitation permanently tarnish the excellence we celebrate today?